This is the Daily Thunder podcast. Welcome back. I'm your host, Ryan Woods, and I am with Daily Thunder beat writer Brandon Rahbar. And it's, 9 o'clock Eastern time on trade deadline day. We had an interesting day. A lot happened. Not a ton happened with the Thunder, a move that we were very much expecting, and then a lot of interesting things around the league. So we'll start with George Hill, and then we'll work to some of the other things that happened around the league. So, Brandon, what initial thoughts on George Hill going to Philly? And I'll go ahead and read the details of it. It's a 3-team deal with the Thunder, the 76ers, and the Knicks. The 76ers get George Hill and Iggy Brazdeikis. No idea. The Knicks add Terrence Ferguson, Vincent Poirier, Emir, I don't know, protected 24 second-round pick from Miami. Oklahoma City adds Austin Rivers, Tony Bradley, and then a 25 and 26 second-round pick from the 76ers. So you can start anywhere you want with any of that.
I think it's a solid return. I think that we all were hoping for some sort of protected first rounder or a better young prospect for George Hill. But when you look at the NBA landscape and you see what Evan Fournier went for, just 2 second rounders, and you see what the Rockets got for Victor Oladipo, which is hilarious. The Thunder did really well. Tony Bradley is a nice piece. I've done some research on him prior to this anyways, because I knew that he was a guy that maybe the Thunder could be looking at, because the 76ers have been connected to George Hill for a while. There's been buzz about it. So I've looked at their young guys. As much as Matisse Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey would have been nice, that just wasn't the market right now. Tony Bradley was their third best young piece, but he's solid. He's 6'10" with a 7'5" wingspan. He just turned 23 years old. He just had an 18 and 11 2-2 game against number 2 overall pick James Wiseman. The 76ers were high on him. They wanted him to be their center of the future to back up Embiid for a while. So I think that the Thunder got a guy that's going to be a restricted free agent after this year. He was a first rounder in 2017. He won a national championship at North Carolina with Justin Jackson. He's a solid piece. He truly is. And then 2 second rounders. That's nice. And then maybe a new tank commander in Austin Rivers. So he can help you. He can help you get a top 5 draft pick if you just let Austin Rivers run the show for the next couple months. It's a good trade for the Thunder. It's not a great trade for the Thunder, but it's a good, solid trade for George Hill.
And we've said a couple times over the last couple weeks, like, Presti typically does really well when it comes to trades. And this was a time where you might want to see him take a little bit less for a guy for the sake of this year's draft pick. It really does. There will be physical return for taking lesser in a trade right now. So not to say that he took a worse offer than was out there. He's not going to do that, but taking this deal and instead of just saying I'll just keep George Hill is definitely worth it for Oklahoma City now and down the road. Austin Rivers, I've yet to hear anything really on what Oklahoma City plans to do with him, whether that's to maybe waive him, buy him out, or just play him. Do you have a take on what that's going to be like?
Yeah, nobody knows for sure. It could be any of the above. They could be buying him out, which would make sense. They could hold on to him and do what they've done with Chris Paul and are going to do with Al Horford on a much smaller scale. But Austin Rivers is a guy that's bounced around. Teams keep giving him chances because he's not a bad backup point guard, somebody to come in and score you double-digit points on decent efficiency. His numbers are a little bit better than I expected as far as the scoring efficiency, better than I remembered for all the flack that he gets. He's not a terrible player, and he's on a good contract. He's only making like $3 million a year, and there's non-guarantees in his deal for the next year. I mean, it's not a bad contract that maybe they can include, on a draft day deal if he looks decent the rest of this year. I don't know. I could also see him pulling a Trevor Ariza or an Iggy, and he's on the team but not playing with the team. I don't think he would go that route, and I don't think the Thunder would go that route because he's a little bit too good of a player. Slash, we're already past the deadline, so you're not going to be sitting out for anything in particular. You're not going to be
Right.
waiting to go somewhere else. If I had to guess, I would guess he's going to be bought out and not actually play with the Thunder, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him get some play time with the Thunder either. I'd put it at like 55% bought out and 45% he actually plays with the Thunder.
Especially given that Shea is out, and I would imagine will be out for quite a while. And now George Hill is gone, who's been out for a while. There probably will be some point guard minutes to be had if they keep him around.
Yeah, unless the Thunder just want to invest all those development minutes into Teo Maladone and Ty Jerome, which also makes sense. And then
Mhm.
maybe give Lou Dort some more time handling the ball, which they've experimented with some. I could see them just preferring to give those minutes. Like Austin Rivers isn't going to be around anyways. This is a good
Right.
chance for these guys to develop. That's really the biggest reason I could see them maybe buying him out and giving him an opportunity to go to a playoff team and the young guys to get more minutes.
So aside from George Hill, that was it for Oklahoma City, and we talked about it. The idea of maybe Justin Jackson on the move. Obviously, there's Al Horford's uh, large contract that I know that at some point they're going to try and move, but they weren't able to do that now. Very very quiet deadline, I would say, for Oklahoma City. The guy that we thought had the highest chance of being moved did go. And then there was some really interesting stuff that happened around the league. Which one caught your attention the most?
I mean, the one I like making fun of the most is Victor Oladipo.
So
Not because
Oklahoma
of
City,
him, but
so
because
yeah, Oklahoma City traded him and Sabonis for Paul George, and he was just dealt for Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a pick swap.
yeah, and it's a protected pick swap. It was just such a bad return for the Rockets, and just given the history of the Rockets and the Thunder and the rivalry and the James Harden trade and all those things, it's just kind of funny to see. And now the Thunder have their draft picks moving forward, so you don't want to see them, be that good, and they're just not getting a good return for James Harden, and then not getting a good return for Victor Oladipo. So that was definitely one that stuck out to me the most, and the one I'm having the most fun with. That said, the Kyle Lowry one that he's actually staying with the Raptors. This is great news for the Thunder, first of all, because the Raptors right now are in the number 7 slot as far as lottery odds, and the Thunder are in the number 8 slot. With Kyle Lowry now and Siakam and Fred VanVleet and those guys, they'll probably try to make the play-in game. No reason to tank if you're keeping Kyle Lowry. So OKC should be able to leapfrog them. That's good news. And just the fact that we were teased by a Kyle Lowry trade for the last few days, and supposedly the Lakers and the Heat and the 76ers, all these teams were at the 1 yard line, and then it just never happened. That was fun to me.
so, so Houston trades James Harden. Oladipo is rerouted to Houston. Karis LeVert to Indiana. LeVert hits a game winner last night, and Oladipo leaves after playing like 20 games,
Yeah.
and not for a whole lot. Like they could have had Jared Allen and Karis LeVert.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a huge whiff on the Rockets' part. You could have had those two guys, and you ended up with guys that you're not interested in whatsoever.
yeah,
From the Heat. I like Oladipo, and I hope he bounces back. It's not necessarily in the Thunder's best interest for the Heat to do good for the rest of the season. But as far as Oladipo himself, I like the guy. I just can't believe that that's all they got back for him. When you look at the league as a whole, things worked out really well as far as the Thunder's lottery odds go. The Wizards didn't trade anyone away to really get any worse. They made a couple small trades, but nothing's going to affect them. They're going to try to make the playoffs.
mm-hmm.
They've got a really easy schedule coming up. The Kings didn't try to make any big, they didn't fire sell, so they're going to try to win, and they said they want to try to win, so that's good for the Thunder. They're tied with them right now in the number 8 slot. Obviously, the Magic,
Yeah.
had a fire sale, but I think we all kind of realized we probably weren't catching them anyways, but this kind of solidifies it. It's going to be hard to catch the Wolves, Pistons, Rockets, and Magic, but now there's a real chance for the Thunder to separate themselves from the Kings and the Raptors and the Wizards. And then all you really got to worry about is the Cavs. But the Cavs have looked decent lately, and the Thunder are only 2 games behind them. So there's a real shot now for the Thunder after the deadline, given Shea's injury. Unfortunate, bummer, obviously. But the timing works out. The Bulls got a lot better. They were only 1 spot behind the Thunder. The Pelicans didn't get rid of Ball. So there's a real opportunity for the Thunder to climb up to number 5 now, which is great for the 2021 draft.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are a couple teams to be excited about. And like you're saying, the Magic they they gave everything up. It was, they were the team that I would say kind of showed their cards the most today. They send Vucevic to Chicago. They send, in what I think is a phenomenal get for Denver, is Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets. I don't know what you thought about that trade. I think that might be the most impactful deal of the day.
Yeah, I mean, now the Nuggets have they're pretty loaded, and they didn't have to give up as far as players that are helping them right now. Gary Harris has been out, forever anyways, and hasn't been that effective this year when he's played. So you're swapping out Gary Harris, and you're getting Aaron Gordon to go with Jokic. That's a great front court, and you got Michael Porter Jr. You've got Jamal Murray. The Nuggets,
still got Millsap as well.
Yes, and Paul Millsap. They've got a real chance with the Clippers not improving. That was hilarious, by the way. The Clippers wanted Kyle Lowry, thought they could get him. They wanted George Hill, thought that they could get him, and they ended up trading Lou Williams for Rajon Rondo.
Yeah.
Which I don't care if you want a defense and somebody that could be a playmaker. That is not an upgrade. To me, that's at best just a lateral move, and they gave up picks to make it happen. And Rondo's on a worse contract because he's actually got years left after this.
And I think they wanted Lonzo. I think they really wanted Lonzo as well.
Yes, and Lonzo. So you go from Lowry, Lonzo, and Hill to Rondo. But here's the deal. I don't know where they didn't really have the assets to get those guys. The Thunder own all their future draft picks. The only thing they really could have done was second-round picks, or maybe Terrence Mann, who I do like, but maybe they were wanting to hold on to him, I guess. But
I think the last time they traded a really solid young guy, it kind of came back to bite them.
Good call
in old Shea. So I wouldn't be giving up anything else either. So another deal that was I thought kind of sneaky good is the Mavs picking up Redick and Melly from the Pelicans. They didn't give up that much either.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't really give up that much. Players just didn't go for all that much. Mm-hmm. I think that was a good move for the Mavs. That they've been kind of borderline as far as the playoffs go. That's going to help them. And I think, honestly, when you look at the overall winners of today, I really like what the Bulls did. Mm-hmm. I like what the Magic did because they really, they got a lot of assets for the future. Like you said, the Mavs and the Nuggets, those were kind of, I don't think going into today, you would have thought that those would have been the teams that would have stood out. But I think those are the ones that kind of won the trade deadline today. I think Portland made a good move to get Powell, but I'm kind of high on Gary Trent Jr.
I was gonna ask you. I tweeted it out. Like I would just rather have Gary Trent Jr. He is such a phenomenal shooter, but it seems like he was headed for a big payday that they weren't necessarily ready to give. I could be wrong, but it seemed like that is the only way I could make that trade make sense, because Norman Powell is a good player, but so is Gary Trent. It felt kind of like redundant pieces, and you gave up Rodney Hood and just to get a similar player.
I mean, Powell is really good. I mean, he's shooting 44% and averaging almost 20 points a game, 44% from three, 50% basically from the field. Now, he hasn't played in all the games this season. I can't remember how many games he's played in, so his stats are probably a little bit inflated. No, he's played. That's right. He has been healthier than it. He's played in 42 games and averaging 20 points. I mean, he's been good.
Yeah.
So is Gary Trent Jr., and he's a better defender, is the thing. Uh, so I think maybe a slight improvement for the Blazers, but when you look at how young and the potential of Trent Jr., I don't know. At best, they do get a little bit better, but the upside of Trent Jr. is hard to let go, I think. But like you said, it probably had more to do with money.
And then the last thing of note today was the Spurs completing a buyout agreement with LaMarcus Aldridge, and it looks early reports are that Miami is the leader in the clubhouse to sign him once he's cleared waivers.
Yeah, and obviously that's a big move. He's a big name, but he's just not the same LaMarcus Aldridge that he was.
Right.
Obviously, if you can get him for free, if you're the Heat, you do that, and I get it. I honestly don't know how much he's going to help him though. The Heat have a lot of shooters. They
Mhm.
do between Robinson and Hero and Dragic and Aldridge as a shooter. He adds to the offense, but
You think he's better
he's
than
not a
Olynyk?
defender. He's got to play.
You th-
I honestly don't know. I think Olynyk is a little bit underrated in all this because it doesn't make sense for the Rockets. They don't really want him. They want to be bad right now, and they're not going to hold on to him. But Olynyk was really good for the Heat this year, and I don't
yeah.
know if Aldridge is really that much of an improvement when you look at shooting, scoring, and defense all together. If anything, it's a wash. So you trade out Olynyk for Aldridge and Oladipo. Yeah, it's probably better overall. It is, but I don't know that it's as sexy as everybody's making it out to be. I'll say
Right.
that.
And I believe the Heat also sent out a second for Bielitsa to the Kings. So the Kings did lose him, but he wasn't playing all that much either. With when Bagley's healthy, he doesn't play all that much. Um, but yeah,
Right.
it was an interesting day. It's so funny. The trade deadline seems to be pushed back a good 10 to 15 minutes longer every single year. We had another couple deals hit the line around 3:19, 3:20 Eastern. So it always cracks me up.
Yeah.
Like the deadline is just more and more arbitrary at this point. Um, but yeah, an interesting day. Oklahoma City sends out George Hill, and now we know who the team is for the last 5-6 weeks here. So now it's just a race to the bottom.
Yep. Uh, Only surprises I would say Mike Muscala not going anywhere was a surprise.
Yeah.
Probably just not a market for him. And then, like you said, Al Horford probably happened maybe over the offseason, but the Thunder probably rest both those guys a lot and give those minutes to Moses Brown and Bradley. But when Horford does play, you try to keep retaining that trade value you have. And it's basically to me to be continued for
Yeah.
the Thunder because they'll get some value, I think, out of Horford eventually. And now it's all about developing the young guys and the draft coming up this off season.
Yep. And this time last year, not exactly the same date, but last deadline, there was a lot of talk about possibly moving Gallinari. Um, there was a deal with the Heat that didn't materialize, and then obviously Chris Paul. So we saw them hang on to those guys through the deadline, play the season out, and then still extract value from both of those guys in the offseason. So yeah, they're definitely the book is not closed on getting value from guys like Horford or Muscala. So yeah, to be determined. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. And then the last bonus thing I'll say that made this a good day for the Thunder. The Rockets had the worst day of any team, and the Thunder owned their future, and the Clippers had a pretty bad day as well, and the Thunder owned their future. So, in totality, overall, and then when you look at the draft odds and the teams around them that decided to either stick with it to compete or get better,
Mm-hmm.
pretty good day for the Thunder.
Yep. All right. We'll wrap it there. Oklahoma City is back at it tomorrow night. We'll be back to talk about that one as soon as it's done. And Brandon, thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely. Have a good night, bud.
All right, Thunder fans, thanks for listening. This is the Daily Thunder Podcast.